Hello and welcome to Storytime. Our book today is Koala. The emu loved her, the platypus loved her, and even tough little koala Claus next door loved her. But it was her mother who loved her most. Of all, 100 times a day, she would laugh and shake her head and say, Koala, I do love you. Whenever she stretched in the early morning sun or climbed a gum tree or bravely went down the path all by herself, her mother would smile and say, Koala, I do love you. The years passed and other koalas were born, brothers and sisters for Koala. Soon her mother was so busy she didn't have the time to tell Koala that she loved her, although of course she did. How many of you get a I love you from your mom? And I'm sure they say it often enough, and sometimes they get busy and they might forget, but they still love you lots and lots. Every night, as she curled up under the stars, Koala thought about the times when her mother had looked at her and said, Koala, I do love you. And she longed for her to say it again. One night, Koala had a splendid idea. Preparations had begun for the Bush Olympics. She would enter the Olympics. She would compete in the gum tree climbing event and she would win. And her mother would fling her arms around her neck and say again, Koala, I do love you. Koala began her training right away. She jogged and puffed and lifted weights and panted. She hung from a branch with one claw at a time till she ached. She did push-ups till her stomach hurt. And last of all, she climbed the tallest tree that she could find over and over again. She's training so hard, all for her mum to say, I love you. Isn't that sweet of Koala? She does miss her mum's I love you. Sometimes her mother would watch her and ask, How are you going, Blossom? Fine, just fine, Koala would reply. So as you can see, her mum did notice all the hard work she was doing, and her way of saying I love you was asking whether she was fine. At last, the day of the Bush Olympics arrived. Look at all the animals, all ready to compete in the Bush Olympics. Koala Claus had also entered the gum tree climbing event, and everyone knew how fast she was. But Koala wasn't scared. She saw her mother in the crowd and imagined her saying again, "Koala, I do love you." Her heart filled with hope. It was Koala Claus who went first. Her climb was a record-breaking 22 meters in 20 seconds flat. The spectators whistled and cheered and wildly waved their party hats. Look at all the party hats in the air being waved for all the competitors that were participating in the Bush Olympics. Can I do better than that? Wondered Koala. I must. As she stepped towards the tree, a hush fell over the crowd. "On your mark," said the kookaburra. "Get set, go!" Koala leapt onto the tree. Up and up she climbed, higher and higher and higher, faster and faster and faster, until there she was, right up at the very top. The spectators roared and clapped and stamped their feet. They were so happy for Koala as she raced in the Bush Olympics. They were supporting her and clapping and so excited that she was doing it super fast. But she wasn't fast enough. In spite of all her training and all her hoping, it was Koala Claus who won the gum tree climbing. Koala came second. Koala went off and hid. She heard the shouts of the Bush Olympics and cried her heart out. When the first stars of evening appeared in the sky, Koala crept home through the dark and up into the gum tree. Her mother was waiting for her. Before she could say a word, her mother had flung her arms around her neck and said, "Koala, I do love you, always have, and I always will." And she hugged her for a very long time. And that was the end of the story. How wonderful it was that Koala tried so hard in the Bush Olympics, all for her mum's love. But in the end, it didn't matter that she came first or second or even last in the race. Her mum loved her just as much as before, and she was so proud of her. And she hugged her and said, "I do love you."